Welcome back to Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the grimoire with 2 M's. Let's turn it... No, today we won't. Gonna be completely honest with you. I don't know when we will again, because I've looked at the rest of the week. We're not gonna turn any pages. Okay. But I'm excited. This is gonna be good. Alright. However, I'm a little apprehensive at the title. Because, remember, Clever Hans? You're stupid. Clever Elsie? Also stupid. Well, now we have Clever Gretel. We'll see. We'll see if she actually is Gretel. Yes, she actually is Gretel. No, we'll see if she's actually clever. Alright, without further ado, Clever Gretel. There was once a cook named Gretel who wore shoes with red heels. And then she walked out with them on. And when she walked out with them on, she turned herself this way and that and thought, "You certainly are a pretty girl." And when she came home, she drank in her gladness of heart a gulp of wine. And as wine excites a desire to eat, she tasted the best of whatever she was cooking until she was satisfied and said, "The cook must know what the food is like." It came to pass that the master one day said to her, "Gretel, there is a guest coming this evening. Prepare me 2 fowls very daintily." "I will see to it, master," answered Gretel. She killed 2 fowls, scalded them, plucked them, put them on the spit, and towards evening set them before the fire that they might roast. The fowls began to turn brown and were nearly ready, but the guests had not yet arrived. Then Gretel called out to her master, "If the guest does not come, I must take the fowls away from the fire. But it will be a sin and a shame if they are not eaten directly when they are juiciest." The master said, "I will run myself and fetch the guest." When the master had turned his back, Gretel laid the spit with the fowls on one side and thought, "Standing so long by the fire there makes one hot and thirsty. Who knows when they will come? Meanwhile I will run into the cellar and take a drink." And she ran down, took a jug, and said, "God bless it to your use, Gretel," and took a good drink and took yet another hearty drink. Then she went and put the fowls down again onto the fire and basted them, and drove the spit merrily round. But as the roast meat smelled so good, Gretel thought something might be wrong. It ought to be tasted. She touched it with her finger and said, "Ah, how good fowls are! It certainly is a sin and a shame that they are not eaten directly." She ran to the window to see if the master was not coming with his guest, but she saw no one, and went back to the fowls and thought, "One of the wings is burning. I had better take it off and eat it." So she cut it off and ate it and enjoyed it, and once she had, she thought, "The other must go down too, or else the master will observe that something is missing." When the 2 wings were eaten, she went and looked for her master and did not see him. It suddenly occurred to her, "Who knows, they are perhaps not coming at all and have turned in somewhere." Then she said, "Hallo, Gretel, enjoy yourself. 1 fowl has been cut into. Take another drink and eat it up entirely. When it is eaten, you will have some peace. Why should God's good gifts be spoiled?" So she ran into the cellar again and took an enormous drink and ate up the 1 chicken in great glee. Then, when one of the chickens was swallowed down and still her master did not come, Gretel looked at the other and said, "Where one is, the other should be likewise. The 2 go together. What's right for the one is right for the other. I think if I were to take another drink, it would do me no harm." So she took another hearty drink and let the 2nd chicken rejoin the first. While she was just in the best of the eating, her master came and cried, "Hurry up, Gretel, the guest is coming directly after me." "Yes, sir, I will soon serve up," answered Gretel. In the meantime, the master looked to see that the table was properly laid, and took the great knife with which he was going to carve the chickens, and sharpened it on the steps. Presently the guest came and knocked politely and courteously at the door. Gretel ran and looked to see who was there, and when she saw the guest, she put her finger to her lips and said, "Hush, hush, get away as quickly as you can. If my master catches you, it will be bad for you. He certainly did ask you to supper, but his intention is to cut off your 2 ears. Just listen how he is sharpening the knife for it." The guest heard the sharpening and hurried down the steps again as fast as he could. Gretel was not idle. She ran screaming to her master and cried, "You have invited a fine guest." Why, Gretel, what do you mean by that?" "Yes," said she, "he's taken the chickens, which I was just going to serve up, off the dish, and has ran away with them." "That's a nice trick," said her master, and lamented the fine chickens. "If he had but left me one, so that something remained for me to eat." He called to him to stop, but the guest pretended not to hear. Then he ran after him with the knife still in his hand, crying, "Just one! Just one!" Meaning that the guest should leave him just one chicken and not take both. The guest, however, thought no otherwise than that he was to give up both of his, just one of his ears, and ran as if fire were burning under him in order to take them both home with him. I'll hand it to her. She is way more clever than Hans or Elsie. Or any other clever Grimm character. Also, can we just talk about how extremely relatable she is? Like, my goodness. Haven't we all done that? Where it's just like, I'll just eat a little cookie dough. Man, just that one just has such a big chocolate chip. I've got to eat it. Oh, now one side of the bowl is gone, so I need to eat, like, down on the other side so that it won't look like I've eaten too much. Well, better eat it all. Or, you know, any manner of that. Where it's just like, oh, just a little more. Just a little more. Nah, we're going to do the whole thing. Let's be real. Claps. It shouldn't be Clever Gretel. It should just be Relatable Gretel. Also, now I'm hungry. Because, wow, they made it sound really good. Okay, I would just like to, you know, all joking aside and hungry. Ugh, my stomach's growling. All hungry and joking and relatability aside, how fast did it take her to just be like, well, can't, we just gotta go all in. Like, she just went from 0 to 60 in 100 and she went real fast, real quick, from 0 to 60. Part of the problem was she was drunk. But, you know, like it says, she'd done it before, like, habits. So, careful. Just be careful, because we all know. We've all been in this situation where it's like, well, this wasn't going to be a thing that was happening. But it is now. Oh, well. Especially with food. Oh. How many times? It's just like, I'll just eat one spoon of ice, one scoop. Wow, the thing's practically gone at this point. Yeah, I'll just finish it. Relatable Gretel. Alright, my gremlins. Thank you for joining us for another happily, although hungry, ever after. Or not so happily ever after. That's up for you to decide, and what you decide is valid. Because you're valid. You are. Either way, this is the end for this episode. So tune in later and we can learn more and turn a new page together. I'm going to eat.